So here we're looking at the integration of ax plus b over cx plus d. So the key thing is that there's a x on the top line and also x on the bottom line, or the denominator. So the main thing with here, you look at the cx on the denominator and say, right, work out how many times it goes into the ax on the top line, or on the numerator. And we can do this by looking at some examples. So here we've got the integral of 8x plus 10 over 2x plus 1. So we look at the 2x and go, how many times does that go into 8x? And we realise that that's going to be 4. So we're going to bring 4 out the front of a bracket. And so this is where this 4 comes from here. What we want is the same. In the bracket, we want it as the same as the denominator. So in the bracket, we're going to want it as 2x plus 1. So we put the 2x plus 1 there, and then we have a look at it and go, right, okay, 4 times 2x is 8x. Yep, that's what I had first. Then 4 times 1 is 4, but I wanted plus 10 there. So that's where this plus 6 comes from, is to make it up to the 10. And what I can do then is then split it up. So I end up with 4 times 2x plus 1 over 2x plus 1 plus 6 over 2x plus 1. This second part comes a little bit easier because it becomes an ln one, because I've no longer got the x on the top line. But what I can do with this is that I can cancel out my 2x plus 1s. You can see why I wanted the bracket to be 2x plus 1, and I'm left with 4. What I'm going to do is make this 6 into 3 times 2, because we're kind of using the rule of the integral of f dash of x over f of x equals the ln of f of x plus c. So if I differentiate 2x plus 1, I get 2, which is where this rule comes into effect. So this is where I get this from now. So if I integrate 4, I get 4x, and then if I integrate this 2 over 2x plus 1, I end up with ln of 2x plus 1, and the 3 is just a coefficient out the front. And of course, remember your plus c. So let's have a look at a slightly harder example. So we're going to integrate this one here. So it's a little bit longer. So again, we're going to split it up. So we're going to end up with 4x squared over x minus 3 minus 5x over x minus 3 plus 7 over x minus 3. Okay, now we're just going to deal with the first term first. I think you have to do this a little bit slowly. So we look at x and look at it, how many times does that go into 4x squared? And we think, okay, well, if I times x by 4x, I get 4x squared. So that's going to come out in front of the brackets. Now the brackets are going to be the same as what's on the denominator or the bottom. So I end up with this. So the x minus 3 comes from, I want it looking the same as the bottom, so it will end up cancelling out. The 4x comes from the x times what equals 4x squared, and that comes out the front. Now, so if we go 4x times x, that's the 4x squared. However, we've got 4x minus 3 times minus 3, and that's negative 12x, but you can see that I've got no negative 12x at the top line, so I need to add 12x to compensate for that. So if I were to simplify this bit on the second line here, that would actually end up being 4x squared. So I've kind of made it bigger a little bit. So let's separate this out. So again, I've just split it in half basically there. I've got, now you can see that my x minus 3's will cancel out. Okay. And what you can see, the next step we're going to do here is actually simplify that, because this is kind of like light terms. We've got 12x over x minus 3 minus 5x over x minus 3. So if we've got plus 12 minus 5, we end up with plus 7x over x minus 3. Now, 4x we can integrate fine, so we're just going to park that for a little bit. Now we're going to do exactly the same process with this one here. So we look at the x and we say, right, how many times does that go into 7x? And we say, well, if I times it by 7, I'll get 7x. So the 7 is going to go out in front of my brackets. My brackets are going to be the same as the bottom, and then I have to work out the number that goes on the end. So let's have a look to see how that will work. Okay, so if I go 7 times x, that's 7x. Yep, that's what I've got there. Now, if I go 7 times -3, I get -21. But if you notice in the previous line, there's no -21. So to compensate for that, I just add 21. Okay, and then just leave your plus 7x minus 3. This is okay to integrate. It's again going to become an ln one. So we're just going to split up the 7x minus 3 over the plus 20 and the plus 21 over x minus 3. And we cancel out our x minus 3's. And we end up with this. Now, if you notice here, we've got 21 over x minus 3 plus 7 over x minus 3. So that makes 28 over x minus 3. That's ready to integrate now. So 4x becomes... Oh, we've just pulled the 28 out the front for a coefficient. 4x becomes 4x squared over 2. So raise the power by 1, divide by the new power. 7 becomes 7x. 1 over x minus 3 because this just becomes an ln. So it becomes ln of x minus 3, and I've just got 28 as my coefficient out the front. And of course, remember your plus c. And if we just tidy that up, we get 2x squared plus 7x plus 28 ln of x minus 3 plus c.